Defiance Season 3, Episode 10, When Twilight Dims the Sky Above. Now, if this episode, and pretty much this entire season, is any indication to what future seasons of this series is going to be like, it's going to be insane because this is without a doubt the best season. It's had like some of the best episodes, and this, I would say, is definitely one of them. I mean, the past two episodes, of course, we dealt with Nolan kind of losing his mind, admittedly. Like, he was going crazy. He was like, this was something I've wanted to see because Arissa deals with this stuff. And in this episode, officially, like, I thought it was the last one. It was like, oh, the last one he officially kind of went crazy. And then in this one, it's like, full on, he's seeing the hallucinations. And I guess it doesn't make any difference because he was obviously insane either way at this point. But when they had the scene where he saw himself the second time in this episode and Arissa was with him and we find out that he's actually talking out loud, that surprised me. I was like, oh, that makes him seem even crazier because I thought it was like, oh, he's talking, but it's like, TV stuff where it's like we see the person talking and stuff, but really it's all in their head and they think they're moving around and stuff, but really they're just, sitting looking, off into space almost. I thought that's how it was, and then it's like, no, he's talking out loud. Like, he's looking this way and then talking to someone that's not there, and it's like that makes him seem even crazier. And like I said, it doesn't make that much of a difference once you're hallucinating yourself, like not even a different person, but you're hallucinating a younger you. That's pretty much like the peak of crazy as is, unless you kind of, I guess in our world, if you do see like crazy monsters and stuff like that, it might be crazier. I don't really know, but either way, crazy is crazy. And he gets deeper and deeper into all this craziness until the point where he starts hallucinating things, that he's looking at. And I figured that had to be the case. I was like, after everything that's happened, he's hallucinating himself. I'm like seeing some fake bombs and stuff. Honestly, I was just like, it's probably not even there. Like, after hallucinating his younger self, he could hallucinate anything, and I totally believe it. And it made perfect sense. He saw bomb parts because he went crazy after what happened to him. And it was actually interesting to see that he didn't just go crazy. It actually was some of the architect. It just kind of blended in with the emotional stuff that he had. So it was almost like he went from sad and depressed to insane, but it was almost a blend of both parts because it was like he had this moment where obviously he was going through in the last episode, but it hit that breaking point at the end when he walks in and then there's yet another life that's gone because of his actions, and that kind of took him over the edge, and it almost blended his own issues mentally with this architect messing with his brain, and it just blended these two issues together into one, and it was just insane. Like, it was great to see. But, the way things started, I'm like, I don't know exactly what happened. It seemed like it could have been something, fairly simple. And then when it was going through, it was kind of like, okay, he definitely had to have shot somebody. Like, I don't know who it's going to be. There's a lot of different stuff happening. It's like, it could be this person. It could be that person. It, most likely, it's like, okay, well, odds are they aren't going to kill off main characters. So it kind of does make everyone safe. But the OMAC, despite being like new cast members, they're still not exactly safe as far as I'm concerned. It's like, I don't know where they're going. And in this episode, they kind of did switch it up. Like, they didn't kill off Tefkin, but he did, or I have to assume he's going to be sent up to the ship, and he's going to be asleep now. And Kindzi's going to be the only person that's basically left. And we actually see the real spelling of her name, because I thought it was like Kinzie, but it's actually like kind and then Zi. So that surprised me. So I've been spelling that wrong. But, they kind of flipped it at the end where now she's free. And something I thought of was, what if they actually killed Tefkin? Like, what if he was shot? And, maybe he would, I guess he wouldn't die because they already established that they're basically just tougher. They're much tougher. And even Kindzi survived being shot twice. So I'm sure he could probably get shot straight in the head and be like, that hurt, but totally fine. But I was thinking, like, maybe they could have killed him off, and then that would just leave Kindzi, who has come back. She has Doc Yule under her control, which I really loved. I kind of want to see more of that, because seeing that scene with Arissa and the Doc in this episode was amazing to me, because it's like she's trying, she can't really tell anyone, because obviously she has the, thing in her neck, And then even when she's alone, she can't do anything. So it's like this weird cycle of like pseudo mind control, where it's like she can't say anything, even if she gets to a point, indirectly, where she's saying something that's a little too close to revealing, she gets frozen in place and she starts to stammer. And then it's like, she kind of just goes off into, you got to get out of here, you need to leave, because she's under that mind control, and it's like, complete my objective, basically, is what she was told to do. And I thought that was cool. I thought it was a nice little scene where it's like she can't really say anything. It's like, I have to do this. I can't tell you what it is. I just have to do it. And then it's like, and then it stops because it's like, you can't explain it. It was just, she's naturally talking, but she has to stop because it's like her subconscious is messing with her. Because even when she consciously tries to take the little, I guess, antenna thing, out of her neck, her body stops. It's like, it's her conscious mind and her subconscious mind is what's really being controlled. So I thought that was a great moment. We don't get to see what happened with the vet guy that decides that he kind of wants to be her apprentice. He's kind of just missing in this episode. I'm assuming he might show up in the next one. I do know like a little bit of what happens in the next episode thanks to the preview. I actually got to see it because normally the previews always get cut off after like next time, and then it gets cut off for me. But I did get to see it a little bit, so I'm actually very curious because it looked like after the truck flips, Nolan literally just gets sucked up into space, like he gets straight up abducted like normal, alien movies or something. And we see Berlin in there, which I knew was going to happen. Like, once they got arrested, or I guess technically Nolan got arrested, but Arissa obviously had to go with him. Once that happened, I was like, they're going to run into Berlin, and she's going to be the one to kind of help them escape. And I don't know exactly how things play out, because obviously it's after the crash, so maybe Berlin and her boyfriend end up just finding the truck, and it's like, what the heck just happened? And then it's like, oh, hey, here's Arissa. But based off of the tiny bit that I got to see, I didn't even get to see the whole preview, so this might actually have been in there. But with Nolan having been abducted, they still have to deal with that mile-long radius unless something happens, or mile-wide radius, sorry. Unless, something extra has happened where whatever happened with Nolan, they kind of fix that issue. But they're still going to have to deal with that, so she's going to be like basically a living tracking beacon for Nolan, and if she gets too far, it could, it's really going to affect her. So they're going to have to kind of race against the clock, in a sense, if he's actually being moved. And that should be an interesting dynamic for the episode, I think. Hopefully that's kind of how things play out in the next one. But I am excited for that. A couple other really great things, of course, Daytak came back, which I knew was going to happen based on the little preview they gave. Like, oh, this is what happened, like he's dead, and they showed the little flashback scenes and stuff. I was like, he's going to be in this episode. He comes back. He's got a bionic arm, so we don't see him with one arm. I was kind of hoping to see that. I mentioned, when he cut his arm off, I was actually hoping for at least a side story where we see him kind of out in the wild a little bit defending himself. But it was kind of just like, no, he was found, and then he, of course, did what he does. He lied, and he got, a bionic arm, basically. And it makes him a bit tougher, which we got a little hint at when Nolan was first going crazy, and he tried to hit him. I'm like, this is gonna go bad. And of course they keep it simple. He grabs his arm and he's just squeezing it and just flinging him around because he's got bionic arm on his left side now. But it was cool to see him come back. That was really good. It changed the relationship between Stama and Tefkin. Of course, it was like he wanted to leave and go to Australia, which we find out in this episode, Australia is just like empty at this point. And I would assume that Australia is empty because, despite the fact that it's an entire continent, it is separate from everything else. Like, if you're where I am, which is like North America, okay, it's like you have, like this much space. Like, there's just land all over here. And then, other side of the planet, even more land, like even more countries, jam-packed together. And then it's like all the way across the water, here's Australia by itself. So I thought it made sense, like anyone who was left in Australia kind of just would take off and go somewhere else because it's much easier. And it's not like it is now where it's like, alright, just fly this into our island. And, it's as simple as that. It's like, that's not really how things work anymore. There are no planes, as far as we've seen. There actually aren't really any planes anymore. It's just like trucks and stuff. I'm sure they have planes and helicopters, but we don't really see them. We haven't really seen them in the series just yet. So at this point, it kind of made sense. It was really surprising when they talked about that. But I love that it was like a random little bit of lore, and it's like, yep, Australia, totally uninhabited. And it just made me instantly think of like other stuff, like, oh, I wonder what crazy creatures and, what it looks like there now on this, new Defiance based planet, Defiance Earth. So I thought that was just a random thing that popped into my head when they mentioned that, but that was kind of cool. And then they joke about it where someone's like, do you know how far Australia is? And it's like, it's just really it's really far. So I loved it. I thought it was really cool. We don't actually see a lack in this, which kind of surprised me. I thought when they had the scene where Salma and Daytak actually were like having or finished having sex, I thought that the person that was going to be their visitor was going to be Alak and Luke, because it's like, he obviously has his issues with his parents, but it's like, holy crap, my father is at least alive. So it kind of, I figured, well, that would kind of mess with him a little bit, and it's not just the mother who he's always really had an issue with. He's never had as much of an issue with his father, despite his father wanting to push him into this, into the same lifestyle. His mother was always the one that kind of mentally tormented him into doing it, especially in the last season. But I was surprised that he wasn't in this episode and they didn't have that, but I'm sure they will in the next one or the one after. Like, they're gonna have that. Like, they're in the same town. They're gonna interact with each other or see each other, and it's like, well, you're alive. Like, you're alive. Like, it's just something, a big deal. And he was actually upset, when his father died. And we still don't really know how he would feel about his mother. And it would obviously be different, especially at this point because of everything she did. It's even, more drastically different than, the stuff from season 2. But I'm excited to see them actually have a family confrontation or something. I don't know if it'll go exactly like it did the last time, where he kind of holds up his mother and then gets beat up by his father. But it'll be something when they kind of all come together again. Like, you got pardoned for doing this. You were supposed to be dead. Now you got like bionic arms and stuff. So I don't know how that's gonna play out, but I'm excited for it. Of course, Nolan and Arissa going off into wherever they're going into after with Nolan getting abducted. I don't know why I have an issue with that word. I'm excited for it for sure. The city right now is very unprotected. Like, Kindzi is taking over. She has Doc under her control. She's gonna send her father back up to the ship because she wants to eat the city. She wants to do what her people have always done. So the city's unprotected. Nolan's gone. Arissa's gone. Amanda's there. You have, the Tar family. So we've still got our couple main characters. Like, basically the other half of the main characters. And I don't know what's going to happen. I'm really excited, though, because it seems like, the two people that always solve the physical violence problems are gone. And now we're going to have Kindzi going around, who has seemingly the only doctor / scientist in the entire town under her mind control, who can't get out of it because she's in the weird mind control cycle. I can't even indirectly start saying stuff or I'll just shut down. So I'm excited for the state of Defiance and how it's very unprotected right now, and also what's going to happen with Nolan and Arissa and, Berlin, and how she comes in to help him out, and just exactly what ends up happening with Nolan. But I want to know what you guys thought about this episode, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And I believe I asked this last time as well, but I definitely want to know what you guys thought about Nolan just going full on crazy. I mean, he, I don't know if this is going to have a full on impact, and I think it will, because they take, a really big, it's not a big moment out of the episode, but it's a very important one, where Daytak is talking to Amanda after Nolan shoots the Vice Chancellor. It's like they're going to use her name. The Votanus Collective is going to come to Defiance and fight a new war in her name, just like they did with her father. And I don't know what's going to happen there. Like, I don't know if we're going to get a whole war in this series or close to it or something. But if they do, then I can only imagine what season 4 is going to end up being like. But is going to have some ramifications, and I'm not sure how it's going to play out. Because even if they don't end up taking Nolan and Arissa to Brazil, which is a super long way, um, they of course still have the fact that, like, oh well, she went to Defiance, like we told her to go here, and she hasn't come back, and we don't have any word or anything, so it's gonna have some ramifications. All bad, of course, but I'm not sure about the specifics, but I'm excited for it. I love Nolan going crazy. It took forever for me to see this episode because of my stupid car keeping me away from my house, like 2 extra days. And I'm probably going to say that in like every review I do tonight, because I missed like 5 whole shows because I was supposed to do them like 2 days ago, but then my car screwed up and I was stuck somewhere else and I couldn't see anything. But I'm glad I finally got to see this episode. I actually don't have to wait at all, pretty much, because it comes on tomorrow night. Or I guess not tomorrow night because it's Thursday morning, but... Well, I guess, yeah, tomorrow night then, but it's like 3 something. It's super late. But I had to put something up, so... Yeah, I'm glad I watched this. I love the episode for sure, and I am really excited for next week's... Well, for this week's episode is like a day away from me, but I'm excited for this week's episode as well. But of course, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode, so like I said, please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.